Hi guys, it's me, Miss Bethany, back with another story time. Today is April the 8th, 2020. It is Wednesday, my favorite day of the week. So I have two stories for you. I have Curious George colors eggs, and I have Hugless, Douglas, and the perfect spring day. I think we should start with Curious George. So this is Curious George colors eggs. George was excited. He was spending the day with Betsy and Steve. They were going to dye eggs. There would be an egg hunt later. The man with the yellow hat gave George an apron. I am leaving for my bird watching trip with Chief Pischetti. Please try to stay clean while I am gone, he said. Steve showed George the 3 pots of dye. One was red, one was blue, and one was yellow. These are called primary colors, Steve said. You can make every color in the rainbow, just mix them in different ways. George was very curious. Steve dipped an egg in the yellow dye. Then Steve dipped the egg in the blue dye. The egg turned green. George had an idea. He dipped a banana in blue dye. Then he dipped it in red dye. George made the banana turn purple. Charky was curious too. She wanted to see the purple banana up close. She chased after George. As they ran, Charky bumped the tables. One started to roll. It knocked down a mop. The mop bumped a shelf, and the cake on the shelf started to fall. George jumped, losing his apron. He saved the cake, but it was very heavy. His feet started to slip. Oh no, George, Steve cried. He and Betsy grabbed the cake, but George fell into the pot. You were supposed to stay clean, said Betsy. But George had another idea. If red and blue made purple, could he mix the right colors to make brown? George jumped into the red dye, but yellow and red make orange, not brown. George and his friends heard footsteps in the hall. Quick, hide, Steve said. George jumped into the sink. How was the egg dyeing? The man with the yellow hat asked. And where's George? Asked Chief Pischetti. George popped up from the sink. Thanks for staying clean, said his friend. George had picked the perfect hiding place. The end. So that was our first story. Our second story is Hugless, Douglas, and the perfect spring day. Douglas was counting his spring collection. So far he had 2 leaves, 1 smooth stone, a funny-shaped twig, and a busy caterpillar that wouldn't keep still. Suddenly there was a crashing noise and a nest landed on his lap, followed by a squirrel. I didn't know squirrel laid eggs, said Douglas. We don't, said Squirrel. It's Swoopy's bird's nest, and it bumped right into me. Before Douglas could reply, Squirrel had disappeared. Swoopy Bird asked Douglas to look after her eggs while she quickly built a new nest. Douglas agreed. He watched for a while, then sat down. I'll wait right here, he said. The trouble with waiting, thought Douglas, is the sitting still part. It gives me the fidgets. Just then he thought he heard whispering. It was the funny bunnies. Hello, said Douglas. I'm looking after Swoopy Bird's eggs while she builds a new nest. Do you want to help? My mom says birds' eggs must be warm. That's why they sit on them, said a little bunny. Maybe I should sit on these, said Douglas. No! Cried the funny bunnies. Another bunny put his arms around a bit of Douglas. I feel safe and warm when someone hugs me. Egg hugs, cried the funny bunnies. Okay, but you'll have to be very gentle, said Douglas. So every bunny was given one egg each to hug. After a while, they put the warm eggs back in the old nest. I think they're ready to hatch, said Douglas excitedly. What does that mean? Asked the bunnies. It's when the baby birds come out of their eggs, he said. And sure enough, they did. Soon there were 8 fluffy birds with very quick runaway legs. Oh no, cried Douglas. Can anyone see them? A family of sheep were passing by and stopped to help. Suddenly, Squirrel appeared. Douglas, do you know you have a bird on your head? He asked. From up in the tree, Squirrel could spot all 8 babies and pointed them out to everyone. Luckily, it didn't take long to gather them and put them back in the old nest. Whew, said Douglas. Thank you, Squirrel. High above, Swoopy Bird was so excited to see her baby birds just hatched. Just in time, she chirped. The new nest is ready. Douglas and his friends made themselves into a wobbly ladder, and even Squirrel joined in. And after a bit of up and a bit of down, the birds were safely in their new home. My babies are back, cried Swoopy Bird, and gave them a family hug. She was so happy she hopped from branch to branch to give everyone a thank you hug. After all the excitement, Douglas sat down to play with his spring collection. Now he had some feathers and a few eggshells. But his friend had another idea. Let's have a daisy chain hug, they cried. Perfect for a spring day, laughed Douglas. Perfect for a spring day, laughed Douglas. The end. So those were our 2 stories today. I'm going to go see if I can bring Dixie out. Maybe she'll come and say hello, because I know how much you guys love Dixie. I'll be right back. Come here, right here. Come here. Look. Well, come here. Say hi to everybody. Everyone loves when you come into the videos. All right, guys, you have a wonderful rest of your day. Go get some fresh air. Go ride your bikes. Go outside and play. But make sure you stay away from other people. Other people may be sick, and we don't want you to get sick. And as always, you guys are kind, you are important, and you are very, very loved. Bye, guys.